الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بعد. Today is Saturday, the 14th of Sha'ban, 1445, corresponding to February 24th, 2024. Today, inshallah, we'll explain page 394, chapter 28, Sourat Al Qassass. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قل أرأيتم إن جعل الله عليكم الليل سرمدا إلى يوم القيامة من إله غير الله يأتيكم بضياء أفلا تسمعون قل أرأيتم إن جعل الله عليكم النهار سرمدا إلى يوم القيامة من إله غير الله يأتيكم بليل تسكنون فيه أفلا تبصرون ومن رحمته جعل لكم الليل والنهار لتسكنوا فيه ولتبتغوا من فضله ولعلكم تشكرون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, say, tell me if Allah made the night continuous for you without day until the day of resurrection, which God besides Allah could bring you light? Will you not then hear? Say, tell me if Allah made the day continuous for you until the day of resurrection, which God besides Allah could bring you night wherein you rest, will you not then see? It is out of His mercy that He subhanahu wa ta'ala has made for you the night and the day, so that you may rest therein and so that you may seek of His bounty. Rest during the night, seeking the bounty during the day, and in order that you may be grateful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds His servants of His bounty in making the day and night alternate. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, tell me if Allah made the night continuous for you until the day of resurrection, that means only night, no daytime, which God besides Allah could bring you light, will you not then hear? In other words, Allah is the one who brings day and night. If you are attributing partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then if Allah decides to make the night continuous for you, will these so-called partners be able to alter that and change that and bring you daylight? Of course not. قل أرأيتم إن جعل الله عليكم الليل سرمدا إلى يوم القيامة من إله غير الله يأتيكم بضياء أفلا تسمعون. So Allah reminds His servants of His favors towards them by subjugating for them the night and day, without which they could not survive. He explains that if He subhanahu wa ta'ala made the night continuous, lasting until the day of resurrection, that would be harmful for them and would cause boredom and stress. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, which God besides Allah could bring good light? Of course, no one. Because only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is able to bring day and night, because there is no God in this universe except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Will you not then hear? Will you not then hear and listen to the truth and to logic? Then Allah tells us, on the other hand, say, tell me if Allah made the day continuous for you until the day of resurrection. Allah tells us that if He had made the day continuous, lasting until the day of resurrection, that would be also harmful for men, and their bodies would get tired from so much movement and activity. As we know, people that work at night and sleep during the day, their bodies usually are not rested. And this is something that most Muslims do in Ramadan. They are up all night and then they sleep all day. They can't wake up until almost Asr time. So they usually miss the Dhuhr prayer, etc. Because regardless of how many hours you sleep during the day, you won't be able to replace the night sleep. And of course, the best time to sleep at night is immediately after Salat al-Isha, because if you do that, you'll notice that after 3-4 hours maximum of sleep, you wake up rested. But if you delay your sleep, the more you delay your sleep, the more hours you need for you to feel that you have rested. And this is why Dawood alayhi salam used to sleep the first half of the night and then wake up the third of the night and then go back to sleep for the sixth of the night that is left. And that's the best type of qiyam that a person can do. قل أرأيتم إن جعل الله عليكم النهار سرمدا إلى يوم القيامة من إله غير الله يأتيكم بليل تسكنون فيه أفلا تبصرون. So which God besides Allah could bring you night wherein you may rest if Allah decided to make the day continuous, meaning to rest from your work and activity? Will you not then see the truth and the miracles and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you to prove to you his power and his oneness in running the universe? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from his mercy made day and night alternate so that we may rest. وَمِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ جَعَلَ لَكُمُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ لِتَسْكُنُوا فِيهِ وَلِتَبْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. And it is from Allah's mercy that he subhanahu wa ta'ala has made for you the night and day. That means he created both the night and day so that you may rest during the night and you may seek from his bounty during the day by traveling, moving about, working, etc. And in order you may be grateful for this bounty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Of course, most people are not grateful. They take it for granted that the sun comes out and sets, and the next day the sun comes out and sets without their intervention, and they take it for granted. So that you may give thanks to Allah by performing all kinds of acts of worship at night and during the day. Whoever misses something during the night can make it up during the day, and vice versa. This is like the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وهو الذي جعل الليل والنهار خلفة لمن أراد أن يذكر أو أراد شكورا. And it is he who has put the night and the day in succession for such who desires to remember or desires to show his gratitude. And there are many similar ayat where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tries to alert people to these great bounties that Allah has on them while they are heedless to those bounties and are thankless for them. Next, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيَوْمَ يُنَادِيهِمْ فَيَقُولُ أَيْنَ شُرَكَائِيَ الَّذِينَ كُنتُمْ تَزْعُمُونَ ونزعنا من كل أمة شهيدا فقلنا هاتوا برهانكم فعلموا أن الحق لله وضل عنهم ما كانوا يفترون. And on the day when Allah will call them again, a second call by way of rebuke, this time, where are my so-called partners whom you used to assert? Why are they not helping you come out of your misery of punishment? And we shall take out from every nation a witness, a messenger, and we shall say, bring your proof for these false gods they attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then they shall know that the truth is with Allah only, and the lies which they invented about Allah having partners will disappear from them. Rebuking the idlers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيَوْمَ يُنَادِيهِمْ فَيَقُولُ أَيْنَ شُرَكَائِيَ الَّذِينَ كُنتُمْ تَزْعُمُونَ. And on the day when Allah will call these polytheists and will ask them, where are my so-called partners? Where is Isa alayhi salam that used to worship? Where is Muhammad alayhi salam that used to worship? Where is Buddha that used to worship? Where are the stars that used to worship? Where are the angels that used to worship? Are they going to help you come out of misery? This is another way. This is another call, but this time by way of rebuke. We saw in the page before that it was a call by way of challenging these polytheists to bring their so-called partners that they attribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for them to stop them from being thrown into the hellfire. This second time, they are being punished, and Allah is asking them again, where are your so-called partners? Let them come and help you come out of the misery you are in. So this is another call by way of rebuke this time for those who worshipped other gods besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord, the only one, may he be exalted. And Allah will call to them before all the witnesses and will say, where are my so-called partners whom you used to assert in this world? You used to say that the Virgin Mary is the mother of God. You used to say that Isa is God or the son of God. Where are them? Where are they? Are they going to help you today? No. They're going to be afraid for themselves because people worship them, and they'll be afraid for their own safety. But of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not punish them because they did not agree and did not condone for people to worship them. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ سَبَقَتْ لَهُم مِّنَ الْحُسْنَى أُولَٰئِكَ عَنْهَا مُبْعَدُونَ. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayah, says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ حَطَبُ جَهَنَّمَ. Those that you call besides Allah, those that you worship besides Allah will be fuel for the fire. So the polytheists basically were saying, oh, look, that means they're telling the Christians, oh, you know, that they're saying that Isa alayhi salam is going to be fuel for fire. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ سَبَقَتْ لَهُم مِّنَ الْحُسْنَى أُولَٰئِكَ عَنْهُم مُبْعَدُونَ. Those to whom a word of safety, the word of goodness has been given to them, messengers, that is, Isa alayhi salam, and others that are worshipped without their consent, without them approving of this worship, they are far away. They are far away from the hellfire. So people who are worshipped besides Allah, if they agree to that, then they're going to go to the fire with those that worship them, like the Sufi shuyukhs and other leaders of deviant sects. But if the one that is worshipped does not agree for people to worship him, then of course he's safe from punishment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask them, who are my so-called partners in this world? وَنَزَعْنَا مِن كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ شَهِيدًا فَقُلْنَا هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ فَعَلِمُوا أَنَّ الْحَقَّ لِلَّهِ وَضَلَّ عَنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَفْتَرُونَ. And we shall take out from every nation a witness. Mujahid said, this means a messenger. So every messenger will bear witness that he delivered the message to his people, and that a party among his people rejected him. So they will have no excuse that no messenger was sent to them. They will have no excuse that they did not know that there was a God worthy of worship. They did not know that they should not worship anyone besides Allah, because their messengers delivered to them the universal message that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent every single messenger with, as Allah says, that to worship Allah alone and to not worship others besides Allah. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. Surely we have sent in every nation a messenger to call people to worship Allah alone and do not worship anything besides Him. And there are 73 nations. The Muslims are the last of these nations. They are the 73rd nation and the best of these nations. As the Prophet ﷺ said, we are the last of 73 nations and the best ones. And all thanks is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He chooses whom He wills subhanahu wa ta'ala, and elevates some above others. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us steadfast on this true path of Islam, and to make the best deed of our existence the last deeds, and to take our souls when we are in the highest state of faith and good deeds. Ameen. وَقُلْنَا هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ. And we shall say, bring your proof. Bring your proof, meaning of the truth of your claim that Allah had any partners. فَعَلِمُوا أَنَّ الْحَقَّ لِلَّهِ. Then they shall know that the truth is with Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one that is worthy of worship, and that the truth that Allah sent the messengers with is the truth. And whatever other things that people said that is different from what Allah said is wrong and is falsehood. So the truth is with Allah, that there is no God besides Him that is worthy of worship. Here it says there is no God besides Him. That's not true. There are many gods. A God is something that is worshipped, but they don't deserve to be worshipped, because these false gods don't deserve to be worshipped. They did not create anything. They could not even help themselves. So here there is no God worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the meaning of La ilaha illallah. It doesn't mean there is no God except Allah. Of course, there are many gods, because a God, by definition, is something that is worshipped. But there is no God worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who is worshipped and deserves to be worshipped, because He subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one that created everything on this earth and does, and no one can undo what He subhanahu wa ta'ala does. As opposed to these other gods that are worshipped, people, they worship gods in the shape of women, in the shape of monkeys, and they worship cows, they worship filthy, what do you call them, rats. But these creatures don't deserve to worship. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only God that is worthy of worship. So there is no God worthy of worship besides Him. Then these polytheists will not speak, and they will not be able to find any answer, because they knew all along that what they said and did was wrong. They will argue against the truth while deep in their souls they know that they are wrong, but they do it out of arrogance. And the lies which they invented, the lies that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had so-called partners with Him, the lies will disappear from them. They will vanish and will be of no benefit to them. إن قارون كان من قوم موسى فبغى عليهم. Surely Qarun was one of Musa's people, but he behaved arrogantly towards them. وآتيناه من الكنوز ما إن مفاتحه لتنوء بالعصبة أولي القوة إذ قال له قومه لا تفرح إن الله لا يحب الفرحين وابتغ فيما آتاك الله الدار الآخرة ولا تنس نصيبك من الدنيا وأحسن كما أحسن الله إليك ولا تبغ الفساد في الأرض إن الله لا يحب المفسدين. Verily, Qarun was one of Musa's people, his cousin, but he behaved arrogantly towards them. And we gave him, Qarun, of the treasures of this world, that of which the keys would have been a burden to a body of strong men to carry. So only the keys to the rooms where he's hiding his treasures were so heavy that a group of strong men would find difficult to carry. Remember when his people, the pious among the followers of Musa alayhi salam, said to him, do not exalt, do not boast about what you have. Verily, Allah does not like those who boast about what they have and attribute that to themselves. But instead seek with that which Allah has given you, the wealth that Allah has given you, the home of the hereafter. And do not forget your portion of lawful enjoyment in this world as well. And be generous as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been generous to you. And do not seek mischief in the land. Verily, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like the mischief makers. Qarun and his people's exhortation. Allah says, إِنَّ قَارُونَ كَانَ مِن قَوْمِ مُوسَى فَبَغَى عَلَيْهِمْ. Verily, Qarun was of Musa's people, but he behaved arrogantly towards them. It was recorded that Ibn Abbas said about this ayah, إِنَّ قَارُونَ كَانَ مِن قَوْمِ مُوسَى. Verily, Qarun was of Musa's people. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma said, Qarun was the son of the paternal uncle of Musa alayhi salam. So he was his cousin. This was also the view of Ibrahim al-Nakhai, Abdullah bin Harith, bin al-Harith bin Nawfal, Sammak bin Harb, Qatada, Malik bin Dinar, Ibn Jurayj, and others. They all said that Qarun, was the cousin of Musa alayhi salam. Ibn Jurayj said he was Qarun bin Yashar bin Qahith, and Musa was the son of Imran bin Qahith. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اصْطَفَى آلَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَآلَ عِمْرَانَ. So Zakaria alayhi salam and Virgin Mary and Isa alayhi salam, they're all from the descendants of Imran, who was the father of Musa alayhi salam. وآتيناه من الكنوز ما إن مفاتحه لتنوء بالعصبة أولي القوة. And we gave Qarun the treasures of wealth, that of which the keys would have been a burden. The keys of the rooms where he stored his treasures, only the keys would have been a burden to a body of strong men. It is said that he discovered a way to change metal into gold, and Allah knows best. So groups of strong men would not have been able to carry them because there were so many. These keys were so many. Al-A'mash narrated from Khaythama, the keys of Qarun's treasures were made of leather, each key like a finger, and each key was for a separate storeroom. When Qarun, rode anywhere, the keys would be carried on 60 mules, and these mules would have white blazes, white spots or stripes on their foreheads, and they would have white feet. Other views were also given, and Allah knows best. إذ قال له قومه لا تفرح إن الله لا يحب الفرحين. Remember when the pious people among the followers of Musa alayhi salam told Qarun, do not exult, do not boast about what you have that Allah has given you and attribute that to yourself and to your knowledge or that you deserve it. Because verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like those who boast in that way. Meaning the righteous ones among his people exhorted him by way of sincere advice and guidance. They said, do not exult in what you have, meaning do not be arrogant and proud of your wealth and attribute that to yourself, because verily Allah does not like those who exult. Inna Allah la yuhibbul farihin. Doesn't mean that if Allah has given you a bounty, wealth, or a beautiful woman or beautiful kids, doesn't mean you shouldn't be happy. No, you should be happy but thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has given you those things. This is the difference. So if you're a billionaire, of course you should be happy, but you should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making you a billionaire. This is the difference. But for you saying, using that money, that wealth that Allah has given you, and then doing injustice to people, looking down at people, thinking that you deserve to be a billionaire, that you are so smart, that you discovered something, you did some business or this and that, this is what's wrong. But if you are happy while attributing the bounty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thanking him for it, then that's a good thing. Inna Allah la yuhibbul farihin means Allah does not like those who rejoice and gloat and boast about what Allah has given them and attributing that to themselves. This is the meaning. Mujahid said it means those who are insolent and reckless and do not thank Allah for what he has given them. He's saying, وَابْتَغِ فِيمَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَأَحْسِنْ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ. But seek with that which Allah has bestowed on you the home of the hereafter. In other words, use your wealth to gain a better home and a better wealth in the hereafter. There's everlasting, because the wealth in this worldly home will perish sooner or later. And forget not your portion of the lawful enjoyment of this world. That means use this great wealth and immense blessing has given you to worship your Lord and draw closer to him by doing a variety of good things, which will earn you reward in this world and hereafter. Just like, for example, Uthman radiallahu anhu, he was wealthy and he gave a lot of his wealth for the sake of jihad. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thanked him for that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him Jannah. وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Do not forget your portion of lawful enjoyment in this world. In other words, some people, they are very wealthy, but when you see them, they are wearing very old clothes, dirty ones. They only eat a little bit and cheap food, and they are cheap on themselves. What's the use of the wealth if you can't even take care of your own self? This is avarice. This is a person that's very cheap. This is wrong. And do not forget your portion of lawful enjoyment in this world, that which Allah has permitted for you from food, drink, clothing, without extravagance. Dwell in places, live in a dwelling place that fits with your level of wealth. Also, women, your Lord has rights over you. Yourself has rights over you. Your family has rights over you. And your visitors have rights over you. So give each of them their due rights. وَأَحْسِنْ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ. And be generous as Allah has been generous to you. Be generous to his creatures as he subhanahu wa ta'ala has been generous to you. وَلَا تَبْغِ الْفَسَادَ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. Meaning, do not let your aim be to spread corruption on earth and do harm to Allah's creation with the wealth that Allah has given you, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like the mischief makers. Allah destroy the Jews who are making mischief in the land and using the temporary power that Allah has given them and temporary support by the Christians to do injustice to our brothers, the Palestinians. قال إنما أوتيته على علم عندي أولم يعلم أن الله قد أهلك من قبله من القرون من هو أشد منه قوة وأكثر جمعا ولا يسأل عن ذنوبهم المجرمون. Did Qarun not know that Allah... Okay, he said, this has been given to me only because of the knowledge I possess. Did Qarun not know that Allah has destroyed before him generations, men who were stronger than him in might and greater in the amount they had collected, greater wealth? But the criminals will not be questioned. But the criminals will not be questioned about their sins. They will bear witness against their own selves. Allah tells us that Qarun's answer to his people that gave him an advice, he told them, this has been given to me only because of the knowledge I possess, meaning I have no need of your advice. Allah has only given me this wealth because he knows that I deserve it and because he loves me. So this is, subhanAllah, something that we hear again and again. And usually when a person says this, know that his end is near. Know that his destruction is near. In other words, Allah has given this wealth to me because he knows that I am fit for this. So again, he's attributing the wealth to Allah, but he's also saying that he deserves it. So it's as if he's putting himself as equal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is like the ayat where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِذَا مَسَّ الْإِنسَانَ ضُرٌّ دَعَانَا ثُمَّ إِذَا خَوَّلْنَاهُ نِعْمَةً مِنَّا قَالَ إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ. When harm touches man, he calls upon us. He makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Allah says, on his side, standing, sitting down. But when we have changed this harm into a favor from us, he, instead of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, oh, only because of my knowledge I obtained this bounty. Like, I knew how to get out of the mess, and I turned things around, and instead of remaining in a mess, I now am in a better position. And the alternative interpretation of this ayah says the meaning is that only because of what Allah knows about me did I obtain this favor. So again, he's saying that he deserves what Allah has given him because he's a good person, or because he does good deeds, or because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves him. And this is like he's saying, this is like what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another ayah, وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِنَّا مِنْ بَعْدِ ضَرَّاءَ مَسَّتْهُ لَيَقُولَنَّ هَذَا لِي. And truly, if we give man a taste of mercy from us, after some adversity, some calamity has touched him, he is sure to say, this is from me. I earned this. I deserve it. People like me do this. I'm strong. I'm smart. Imam Abdul Rahman bin Zayd bin Aslam explained this ayah very well. Concerning this phrase, قَالَ إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ عِنْدِي. He said this has been given to me only because of the knowledge I possess. This is Qarun speaking. Imam Abdul Rahman bin Zayd bin Aslam said, were it not for the fact that Allah is pleased with me, this is what Qarun thought and said, and knows my virtue, he would not have given me this wealth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered him, أَوَلَمْ يَعْلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ أَهْلَكَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ مِنَ الْقُرُونِ مَنْ هُوَ أَشَدُّ مِنْهُ قُوَّةً وَأَكْثَرُ جَمْعًا وَلَا يُسْأَلُ عَنْ ذُنُوبِهِمُ الْمُجْرِمُونَ. Did Qarun not know that Allah has destroyed before him generations, men who were stronger than him in might and wealthier than him? They were greater in the amount they had collected. This is what those who have little knowledge say when they see a person. Okay, skip something. Okay. Now they did not know that Allah destroyed before him generations, men who were stronger than him in might and greater in the amount they had collected. Connected. This is what those who have okay, looks like there is okay. This is what those who have little knowledge say when they see a person whom Allah has granted a lot of wealth. They say that if this person did not deserve it, Allah would not have given it to him. But the criminals will not be questioned about their sins. As far as wealth is concerned, Allah was clear about it in Sourat Al-Isra. Allah says, كُلًّا نُمِدْ هؤلاء وهؤلاء من عطاء ربك وما كان عطاء ربك محظورا. Allah says to the believers and to the disbelievers we give from our bounty. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. So a person's wealth and status isn't indicative of his status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person's wealth and status in this world is not necessarily indicative of his status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Perchance he is truly pious, and so Allah reward him this wealth, or maybe the other way. So we can't say 1 + 1 = 2 when it comes to this thing about having wealth, because as you see today, for example, in this world, the wealthiest people are disbelievers. Does this mean Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves them? No, it's the opposite. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not be mesmerized with their wealth and their children. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only wants to punish them with it. ولا تعجبك أموالهم وأولادهم إنما يريد الله أن يعذبهم بها في الحياة الدنيا وتزهق أنفسهم وهم كافرون. So do not be mesmerized by their wealth and their children. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only wants to punish them with it, with this wealth in this worldly life, and die as disbelievers. I may have made a mistake in the ayah, because there are 2 ayahs similar in Surah At-Tawbah. One says وَلَا تُعْجِبْكَ, the one says فَلَا تُعْجِبْكَ. But the meaning is similar. But the criminals will not be questioned about their sins. فَخَرَجَ عَلَى قَوْمِهِ فِي زِينَتِهِ قَالَ الَّذِينَ يُرِيدُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا يَا لَيْتَ لَنَا مِثْلَ مَا أُوتِيَ قَارُونَ إِنَّهُ لَذُو حَظٍّ عَظِيمٍ وقال الذين أوتوا العلم ويلكم ثواب الله خير لمن آمن وعمل صالحا ولا يلقاها إلا الصابرون. Those who were desirous, so Qarun went forth in his beauty in front of his people. Those who were desirous of the life of this world said, if only we had been given like what Qarun was given. Verily, he is the owner of a great portion of wealth in this world. But those who had been given knowledge said, woe to you. The reward of Allah is better for those who believe and the righteous good deeds, and this none shall attain except the patient. Allah tells us about Qarun, فَخَرَجَ عَلَى قَوْمِهِ فِي زِينَتِهِ قَالَ الَّذِينَ يُرِيدُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا يَا لَيْتَ لَنَا مِثْلَ مَا أُوتِيَ قَارُونَ إِنَّهُ لَذُو حَظٍّ عَظِيمٍ. So he, Qarun, went forth before his people in his finery, fine clothing. Those who were desirous of this, the worldly life, said, they said, if only we had the like of what Qarun has been given. Surely he is the owner of a great fortune. That means he is very lucky and has a great share in this world. This is what havd means. Some people, especially in the Arab language, they translate havd as luck. There's no such thing as luck. Here, havdun azim, meaning a portion. He's given a great portion in this world, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala divides the wealth in this world. So some people are given a great portion of the wealth in this world, and some people are given a small portion of the wealth in this world. So havd here means a portion of the wealth that Allah gives people. It doesn't mean luck. Some people, when you tell them there's such thing as luck, this is haram, this is a Buddhist mantra, or way of thinking, they say, no, Allah says havd. Well, this is not what havd is. Havd means portion. Allah divides the wealth among his slaves in this world, and some of them get a great portion, havd azim, and some get a small portion, havd qalil. So Qarun went before his people with his magnificent regalia, wearing his fine clothing, accompanied by his fine horses, his servants, and his retinue. When those retinue is the advisors and the confidence and people that that are usually with him, and he asks them for advice, or he asks them to do certain things for him. When those whose desires and inclinations were for this worldly life and saw his adornments and splendor, they wished that they could have been the same as he had been given. They wished that they could have been given the same fortune as Qarun was given. And that's why they said, if only we were given a great portion of the wealth in this world, the same way Qarun was given that portion. So they're saying that, again, I don't like to use these terms, lucky, etc. But people are saying that he has a good share in this portion. He has a good share in this portion. So we don't say lucky, because luck is something that enters into some things of polytheism. Because like the Buddhists, for example, they said, the Japanese, for example, they have this small cat. They call it koi neko. Koi, that means come. Koi neko. So they put it in the car, for example, and when the car moves, it moves the right hand up and down. So they're saying by the cat moving his hand up and down, he is calling for a good fortune to come. Or, for example, the Chinese, they wear a jade. It's a green type of jewelry, and they say this brings luck. They hang, for example, a rabbit's tail. They say this is for luck. All this is superstition and has something to do with polytheism. Has no place for us in Islam. So you hear some Muslims say, "Oh, good luck." What does good luck mean? Say, may Allah make things easier for you. What's good luck? Luck is something that's abstract, that comes from these nonsense that people believe. Bring in this cat or rabbit tail or horse leg. Actually, you see that also in some Muslim land. They hang a horseshoe. They hang a horseshoe in the cars. They're saying this is for good luck and to do away with the evil eye. So ignorance, subhanAllah, is rampant among mankind. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach us the beneficial knowledge. So when the people of beneficial knowledge, speaking of which, when people with beneficial knowledge heard those people who were duped by the looks of Qarun, wish for a fortune like he had, they said to them, they directed them to what is better than the fortune that Qarun has. They told them, وَيْلَكُمْ ثَوَابُ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ لِمَنْ آمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. Woe to you. The reward of Allah in the hereafter is better for those who believe and do righteous deeds than what you see that Qarun has. Because I will see later, his fortune was the reason for his demise. His fortune was the reason for his demise. So sometimes fortune, wealth, is a means and a way and a cause for a person to be doomed in the hereafter. As with the same token, if a person has wealth and he uses it for the good benefits, then, as the Prophet said, blessed be the pious wealth for the pious person.